compromise. Little mama's a popular nominee. Oh yeah, she good with the comedy. And you gotta give it right back now. Get it right back now. And you gotta get your right back. Little mama call me, wanna come over. She knows what to do. I don't let her say me. Only tell her come through. Do I wanna do what you want me to do? You really asking me, 'cause I'll tell you the truth.
And welcome back to the Don't Panic, We're All Going to Die podcast. As always, I'm stoked to be able to spend some time with you today. Now, I say this next sentence with as little ego as possible, but I'm really proud of the way that some of these episodes have been turning out. I've learned so much from these incredible people I've connected with, and I hope that you have too. The themes of the last few episodes have been very in line with the main theme of the podcast, so anxiety, depression, existentialism, deep topics. So I wanted to switch it up with a more playful episode, which is why joining us today is Dan Checkers of Dan and Drum. Dan is the one-man band behind the song that you just heard in the intro, and in 2017 he released an album called Growl Pop that has received tens of millions of streams since its release. He's currently working on a new album, Heavy Mental, which will come out in the fall, but in between working on that, he managed to find the time to write me the theme song of this podcast. And it's funny, I asked Dan to write the theme, he said yes, and I was expecting like a 30-second clip or some kind of jingle. Instead, what I got back was an entire song. So definitely got my money's worth, and it's unreleased, so I'll play it for you at the end of this episode so other people can hear it. This is a fun one. We still talk about depression, but we also get into music, and even Dan's run-in with the law while he was in Canada. So here's my conversation with Dan.
Well, the customers all lie, and the customers all lie, but the customers always right. Customary because they like the possibilities when they never really crossed your mind. Little mama's a local melody, and she got a whole lot of good qualities. Like your mama don't sing to me, all eyes on you.
All right. Well, Dan Checkers, it's definitely nice to meet you. I think I first discovered you must have come up, Dan and Drum must have come up on a Spotify playlist of mine, or some suggested music, and I just went down a rabbit hole listening to all of your stuff. So it's really cool to have this come full circle and be able to have a conversation with you, man. Glad to have you.
Yeah, awesome, man. Super glad to be here. Seem like a cool guy doing cool things, Johnny.
I appreciate that, Dan Checkers. So I guess maybe I'm familiar with you and your work, but I guess maybe a good place to start would be maybe you could just tell us a little bit about your story, how you got your start in music, and then we could just take it from there.
For sure. I was just a standard suburban adolescent white male. So I played a lot of basketball, sports, whatever. And then when I was like 11, 12, I randomly just got super depressed. Like, I don't know, it was just a straight up like clinical case of depression. Like, it never actually was diagnosed. My parents didn't believe me. But it lasted for like a year, And yeah, I would just compare it to this one South Park episode. Dan, everything just turns to shit for him. Like, he just wakes up one morning and everything is shit. Like, the house is shit, the movies are shit, like, everything is shit. And yeah, so I just got super, it was just the weirdest thing. I don't know, even looking back on it now, I was like, damn, that's weird. Does that happen to 11 and 12-year-olds? Not that I have seen. And randomly, just like, I know this sounds crazy, but I saw the Garfield movie one day. It like came out around that time, and the guy was like playing some like sweet guitar in it, and I was just like, "That's my thing. I need to have a guitar. I need to have a guitar right now." I didn't even like know why or like didn't think it was cool or uncool. I was just like, "Oh, guitar, want it now." And so from there, I was just like a really depressed kid, and all I did was play guitar for a pretty long time. Like, not, like everybody played, like everybody skateboarded and played video games and stuff, and I wanted to, and I tried, and like either I just wasn't good at it or I just didn't care, but I just never ended up doing any of that. Still feel like a weirdo about it, but yeah, I don't know. Does that answer the question? I think so.
Yeah, no, that's a good place to start. And also, like, I've never seen the Garfield movie. It has definitely not been on my bucket list of movies to watch, but I think that's a really funny origin story.
Yeah, I think the point there is that it doesn't matter what it was. It could have been anything. I was primed to like, oh, guitar, oh, great, give it to me.
Yeah, it's funny how those things happen. Like I know John Mayer. I went to his concert last night. He like saw Back to the Future, and then when Marty McFly plays Johnny B. Good on guitar, he was like, "That's it. That's my thing. I need to get a guitar." And then from there, he was just like obsessed. It's funny how those things happen.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, that was a pretty cool scene. I mean, I feel like that's fair enough to be convinced by that. Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah. So you start off, you get your guitar, you start playing, you're developing these skills. So you're at number 12, you're starting to play guitar, and then I think you ended up touring with some Disney Channel star.
Yes, this is true. So I was pretty much playing music forever. Sorry, my dog's eating a stick right now. I just want to make sure it's all good. Yeah, so I was playing music, whatever, in high school, and then my parents made me go to college. I didn't really like want to because I was an idiot, and I don't know. The dorm, like one of our dorm mates, was this Disney Channel star, as you say, Emily Osment, and she was like the sidekick in Hannah Montana. That's her claim to fame. And so it's like, first night we're there, like everybody's like, "Ooh, have you met Emily, or have you seen the Hannah Montana chick?" Like, ooh, I didn't for a while. But then we had a music class. Like you had to like pick your freshman like core focus class, and so I picked a music class, and she did too. And then they had this one day where we all shared our music creations. And so I had this one song that was recorded. I mean, whatever, the favorite one. So I was 18 at this point, I guess. And so I was still very like not super public. I mean, I played in bands in high school and stuff, but showing other people my stuff was still a very new thing. So playing this recorded song for the whole class was terrifying. And I was legit. I played it. I was like 18. I literally wore like hoodies to class every day. I was such a little weirdo, and like I literally put my like head in put my head on my desk like for the duration of the song, and then the song ended, and it was kind of like a slow clap moment, like, "Oh, bro, that was you!" Like, "Oh, sick!" And then like so the class generally liked it, and then she was in the class, and then she was like, "Oh, let's do something," and so then we did stuff together for a while. So we played as Ramshackle was the name, and it was like country folk, a little bit of hey ho rock influence, I guess.
Cool. So I guess that's been maybe your first experience being in a band, and then that led you to being, hey, like people actually enjoy me playing the guitar, and they enjoy like the music that I'm making, and maybe that gave you some confidence to start dating drum.
Pretty much. I've been bootstrapping confidence since I was like 11. Started with zero, zero, and then like, okay, play guitar. That got me a couple friends. Oh, friends think it's cool that I play guitar. Okay, I'll start doing more with that. Oh, Emily Osment thinks it's good. All right, maybe it's good. I'll keep playing songs. Okay, that didn't work out. Yeah, you get the idea. So yeah, you're right on with that one.
Yeah, that's cool. And it's funny like what incentivizes us to like start these hobbies that become lifelong passions. Like for you, it's the Garfield movies, and like being people liking the fact that you play guitar. I started playing when I was 12 guitar, and I was like, I think if I played guitar, then girls will like me, because girls didn't like me when I was 12. And then like turns out that I actually just really like playing guitar, and to this day has never helped me with women even a little bit.
So little time and so many slow ways. How we supposed to make a go of it nowadays? Everybody knows no one is allowed to say, "Don't wait for me
So Dan and Drum starts. What year did Dan and Drum start?
Well, that's an interesting question because Dan and Drum is just me and my like childhood buddy, and we've been friends since we're like 5. So I mean, when did we first start downloading? When did we first start playing in the garage? Like 12, probably. Yeah.
Is Drum still part of Dan and Drum? Because I know that there was a post that he was kind of taking a step back. So is Dan and Drum? Is it just you, or is it still kind of like a duo thing?
It's pretty much just me. Drum is officially a ghost member of Dan and Drum. He's still there, not in mind, not in body, not in
Yeah.
spirit, but he's still there. Drum is there. So I've always pretty much done the music, and he's always been there to help out with business or help out with production or whatever. And he's just an awesome guy, still my best friend, and I'll still be showing him the songs, and he'll still be helping me out here and there. So Drum is the absolute homie. Drum is forever, and that's why it's still Dan and Drum.
Cool. I love that. That's really sweet. But then I know that like the I suppose the legend around the band is that like you release your song or you're working on an EP, you release it, and then first month, you get 100 views and 1,000 views and 10,000 views. And I know that it happened pretty quickly where I think like even the first few months in, you were already at like several million of plays. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think so. Like 6 months, a million or something like that. Yeah, something like that.
And you hadn't used any marketing or anything like that?
Not in any, not in any professional sense. Like we didn't pay anybody or anything. No, but I did do some legwork. Yeah, I just hit up a bunch of YouTubers and just said, hey, here's some music if you wanna use it.
That's cool. And I know like one of the biggest lies in marketing is that like if you build it, they will come. Like you have to essentially perform some type of marketing effort. But I'm curious, like what's the reaction like for you to have, you start this band, you're like, I have this music made, I'm not sure who's gonna like it, and you put it out and all of a sudden you're at millions of views. So what's that initial feeling like of, you get the millions of views, and is it like validating or is it almost like intimidating?
Well, I don't know. I don't want to be definitely there's some validation. There's absolutely some validation. There's validation at every point. Like anytime somebody says like, hey, I love your music, that's validating. Like because they don't have to do that.
Yeah.
And you can really tell when they don't want to or don't want to say it or don't mean it or anything. So anytime that happens, that's validating. So like when a few thousand people were listening, it's like, ooh, exciting. And like when there was more and more, it's like, ooh, exciting. Every time that happens, I'm just like, but was it real? But how long will this last? And was it just a fluke or why? Like, and so I have a hard time really enjoying things, which is absolutely my bad. Absolutely need to work on that. So to answer your question, I guess both. I guess both intimidating and validating, and also neither because I'm just worried about it the whole time.
Right. Well, because I also took a look at your website and you had posted an essay. I think it's called "The Second Thing Is the Hardest," which kind of grapple with this idea of like, you put your heart and soul to this first project, and it's one that is almost like the muses have kind of spoken into existence in some ways, where it's just you're just going off of passion into the first project, and then now you have this product that people enjoy. Maybe like part of the anxiety is that like it now becomes I have an audience to please, and therefore maybe you can't rely on the same sort of passion that you had before, or is it more of like I'm still going to try and rely on the same things, but I'm maybe a little bit nervous about how it's going to be received since the first one was received so well?
It's mostly because the first thing wasn't my ideal thing. You know what I mean? Like my first thing was just what I could do. It was like, okay, I don't have any money. I don't have any recognition. I've got nothing going on. So I have literally nothing to lose by just putting this out there. Is it 100,000% exactly what I would want? No, but it's like 95, 98. So whatever, forget it. I'm just going to put it there. Now I have my own expectation because now I feel like I have to do better.
Right.
Because I feel like that wasn't like, oh, if people liked that, then they're really going to like what my perfect version of that is. No, wrong. Bad thing. But that's how I was thinking for a while. And so I tried to make the perfect thing, and I made another awesome thing, and I love it. But I think it was a lot of misguided effort there. Not maybe it was all necessary for me to learn, but some misguided effort in my opinion.
I did want to ask you about playing live music. You mentioned when you first played the song in your class when you were wearing the hoodies, and you mentioned that you had like your head in your arm. How does that feel for somebody who you maybe is a little bit naturally shy to go into play live shows? Is there any type of adjustment period to that?
So your instincts are all right on. I mean, I love playing live, but it's like days before I'll be nauseous. I'll like, but you've probably heard this before or whatever. But like, really, as soon as you're up there, as soon as you start playing, it's like the exact opposite thing. Where it's just like, oh, this is completely fine. Well, I'm actually in complete control. Like, this is actually exactly where I need to be. I love this.
Yeah, no, I get that. For me, it's always like I felt like the amount of nervousness that I have is always directly correlated to how much I've prepared. So like if I have practiced a lot, then I can get on stage and be like, you know what, this isn't gonna be that bad because at least I put in all the work. And if I mess up, then that's just kind of a fluke. Whereas if I didn't prepare at all and I get up on stage, which I've done before, I'm like, fuck, this might not go well because I didn't do enough preparation. And then I don't even enjoy the experience of playing because I'm just like, I could mess up at any moment.
For sure, for sure. Preparation is the best medicine against anxiety. Absolutely.
So I know part of you, what maybe part of your online business, I think it's fair to call it that, is doing personalized songs. So I'd just be curious to learn a little bit more about that. How'd you get started on doing it? And then like, I'd be curious to learn about the value that it brings to your life because is it one of those things where it keeps you making music because someone's paying you to do it and you have to kind of hit a deadline? Or is it something that you sincerely enjoy because it tests your creative instincts in a way that might be different from how people normally make music?
Love this question. Yeah, definitely just started because I was like, how am I going to monetize this? Let's get some money. Let's get some income going here. Because like, Spotify pays a little bit, but a little bit. And so
Yeah.
it just purely started as, just another way to generate income. But I had the idea because it's something I like to do. It's just as a lot goes into the music making process. You're writing songs, you're producing, you're editing, mixing, engineering, all that stuff. And not all that stuff is my favorite stuff. I don't love doing all that stuff. I do genuinely just love like writing songs. And so I was thinking, what's the thing I love that I can make money on? And yeah, so that's the idea. So that's where it started. That's where it started, but it just turned into so much more. Let me tell you, because like I feel like I've learned so much. If I don't have an idea or if I don't have something I'm excited about, just don't do it. I'm just like, all right, whatever. I'll wait. I just like playing music enough where I play enough where that ideas will just happen and it works out. It's okay. But honestly, doing this has shown me that. Whereas, like, if you just put the work in, if you put more work in, what you're doing is just allowing more opportunities for inspiration to happen. You're just opening the door to more opportunities for inspiration. And it doesn't mean it'll always happen, but sometimes. Um, and also, I've always really struggled with like finishing stuff. I think finishing is the hardest part. So really just what you said about there being a deadline and just making you do it, just using your brain a lot more. I've learned, it taught me how to use my brain more when before I just used my heart.
That's cool. That's a good answer too. And I agree that like the brain is a bigger aspect maybe in songwriting than people generally give it credit for because I feel like oftentimes the songwriting is romanticized so much that it just comes out. But I feel like, especially because like your lyrics, like I feel like they're like very clever and kind of have some play on words, whether it's like hetero heels or something like that. I feel like you can tell when there's a little bit more brain work put in than maybe something that would be, I don't know, just like really simple chorus with like really catchy verse, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally, totally. I've been discounting the brain for too long. I'm putting money on brain now. I'm investing in brain.
You're buying stock in brain. I like that.
Brain to the moon for sure.
And then I did want to ask you because this is something I find really interesting with creative people. I feel like everyone has a creative process, and like I do things that I'm like I'm pretty sure nobody does this. So I'm curious if there's anything that you do that you feel like is unique to your creative process.
Um, yeah. I just like to, if I really don't know what to do or just, starting from scratch, I like to just make a mess, like make a noise. Like if I'm drawing or something, I'll literally just like make a random scratch with my pencil and then like just see if I can make something out of that. When I really not sure where to start, that's my go-to. Just random thing and then build from there.
And I feel like you can get a lot of happy accidents that way, where it might not even be like the thing that you started with is like the actual finished product, but in starting something, you end up finding your way to something else.
Totally, totally. Because we're all liars to ourselves. We lie to ourselves all the time. So if I was just going in there, hey, I want to talk about something, I'd really be talking about something that I don't actually want to be talking about deep down. There's something deeper down that I want to be talking about that I don't even realize.
Yeah, it's weird how that always manifests itself in lyrics and like the creative stuff that we do. Because oftentimes, like I've even done that where like I'll write something and I'm like, this isn't about me, and then once I'm done, I'm like, man, that was totally about me.
Totally, yeah. I've definitely gotten that feeling many times.
Well, I'm like, see, you've got me right where you wanted me. Then I freeze, 'cause I know that my time is near. You know I'm dedicated, you know I'm credible. I got this bread and butter. Say it's medical, and I'm like, please, but you've already made your mind up, dear. Well, let me know. The sweet lady comes out, gets my demons out. I sleep while they cut open all my dreams. These homies will tell me what I'm thinking about. I'm feeling ready, come on, feeling ready. So run yourself ragged and call the cold red. Oh, you don't man, you know it's all fun. Good gallbladder, you got a big head. If you got fatter, you go lopsided. Well, ooh la la, ooh la la, say me ooh la la, say me ooh la la.
Well, I did want to ask you a few questions about the theme of the pod, but I did understand that you had, or was made aware that you had a few run-ins with the law. So I was curious, what happened in those incidents?
It's true. Thank you for phrasing it like that. That's how it happened. That's how it went down. No, I'm just an idiot. I'm so dumb. Um, like I say this in the most politically correct way possible. Like, thank God I'm white, or else I would be in jail by now for sure. Yeah, so I went on like a couple like acoustic tours a couple years ago before pandemic, and it was like super low key where it was just like acoustic and it was just me driving in my car basically. Yeah, so I was driving around. It was all good, and I also smoke a lot of weed. Okay, and so it was like West Coast and Southwest, so the weed was not a problem, and into Canada, which is also legal. So I'm driving to Canada, and I'm thinking, okay, it's time, Dan. Let's throw away our weed. So I throw away the little, jar of weed. I throw away the joint. I'm like, okay, Dan, good job. You're a responsible, good kid. Keep going. And so then I get to the like border station or whatever, and the guy's like asking me questions, and he's like, all right, why don't you just pull over there and then come inside? And I'm like, okay, because I've really never been across the border before, and I was like, I guess this is just what everybody does, but it's not, because I was like sitting in there and I was looking around, And I realized like the only other people there were like there was one in cuffs and like there was another one that was just didn't look like he was having fun. And I was like, oh shit, maybe I'm in trouble. And so like I start thinking like, what could it possibly be? And I'm just like, this whole time they're searching my car, by the way. And I'm just like, oh, I guess there was that one joint from that one time. Oh, and there were those pills from before. Oh, and that I did have that extra jar of weed in the back. Like, oh, okay. Just completely forgot about all of that. And so the guy like comes back in with like just a big ass bag like full of all that stuff. Like, Daniel Schechter, all right, you come with me. And he just like arrests me for DUI, basically. Puts me in the cell. And at this point, I'm extremely concerned about missing the show that night, among other things. So I just asked the cop, I'm just like, hey, what can I expect here? And he's a Canadian policeman, so he's very kind, very polite. And he's like, basically, we're going to give you a DUI test. If you pass the test, you're good to go. You can just say goodbye. If not, then we have to keep you and blah, blah, blah. But as soon as I heard DUI test, I was like, okay, oh, I'm good. I'm fine.
Yeah.
And so they did that. Great. They kept all my stuff, but hey, what are you gonna do? And I went about my way, told the story to the Vancouver crowd, and a good time was had by eventually.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that story, but I am curious to just ask you a few things on the theme of the pod. I know that you mentioned that you had, that you said when you were 12, you got super depressed for no reason. Your parents didn't believe you. How was that like as a 12-year-old experiencing depression? And then also, was there anything that you did to maybe get yourself out of it? Or is there anything that you felt like maybe alleviated it a little bit for you?
It was just crazy. I don't know. It was just a crazy experience, and I had like another bout like when I was like 23 ish. But those are the only two times where I really felt like a completely different person. And I really felt like, it was just some chemical weird shit going on. So 11 and 12, did I really do anything specifically to get me out of it? I don't know. I feel like that was maybe just a keep trucking situation. But couldn't have done it without guitar and music and stuff. This more recent time, yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I wish I could say something that there was something that really just got me out of it, but it's not any one thing that got me out of it. It's just me keeping doing the things that I know that I'm supposed to do. Because there was a big part of my brain telling me to do other things, and it was lying. Doing things like, you have to get a real job, or you have to break up with your girlfriend, or you have to do this or whatever, like just any like anxiety provoking things. So there was just like half of my brain that was saying to do these things that deep down I knew weren't right for me. And so I guess the only thing that got me through it was just keeping doing the things that I did know were, and just having faith. Yes, basically, is at the end of the day what it was. Just having faith.
No, that makes sense. And I have experience. I have a similar experience where I was like, I think for me, depression is always usually comes in bouts. Like you mentioned, like episodes. Like I'll go through a depressive episode. It's happened to me more than 2 times, but it's usually like when it's happening, I'm like, fuck, I'm gonna have to deal with this for like the next 6 months. I'm not looking forward to it. But I actually think that's really good advice of just like understanding that your brain does lie to you, because I think like so much of the time, like we take our thoughts as gospel, and like we think if we have a thought, it's the truth and we must believe it. But I think just being simply aware that like your brain can lie to you, and sometimes it tells you to do things that you know are not aligned with your best interests. I think that's pretty insightful, and I think that was definitely sounds like it was the case for you, where you just understood that those are lies that my brain's telling me, and what I really need to do is just keep focusing on what's always made me happy, and it seems to be taking you to some good places.
Absolutely, like intrusive thoughts are a real thing for sure. I feel like they just get started on a cycle. Like if I was nauseous when I thought of if I just happened to be nauseous when I thought of some other thing, I'd have this bad feeling associated with it. And then I'd think about it again, knew it was a bad feeling, then have a worse feeling.
And it also reminds me of like kind of when you were explaining what it's like to play a show, of like feeling that feeling of nauseousness and then getting to a point where you're on stage, you're like, this isn't so bad. It's almost similar to me, because it's like sometimes it is as simple as like just keep trucking and knowing that eventually you're going to end up in the spot that you need to be in. might feel nauseous and like all these terrible feelings. But eventually, when you get to the place where you're supposed to be, sometimes that's all you really needed to do the whole time.
Yeah, I think yeah, I would even say more often than not, maybe that it's at least that plus other things if you need other things.
So I wanted to ask you, what is something about the world today? This could be, spiritually, existentially, mentally, whatever it is that bothers you. And then maybe what is something you see as a solution to that problem or that issue?
Geez, where do I start?
You can pick a couple of things if
Okay.
you'd like, but usually people have like one thing that's like, this is actually really bothering me.
Okay. Well, the thing that comes to mind right now, the thing that bothers me is so much like TV and movies that and it's like a cultural thing, like in recent years, is just all about power to me. It seems like, like if we're looking at like Theranos, the Theranos lady, whatever her name is, Elizabeth Holmes. They're making like documentaries about her, and like I know they're saying what a like crazy fraud she was and everything, but all the posters and all the themes are all like, look at this iconoclast, like look at this daring, like crazy, maybe genius, you know what I mean? Like, and, and there's like the Inventing Anna show where it's like
Yeah.
basically the same deal. There's like the Tinder swindler, which that one was pretty negative, like whatever. I'm also combining with shows like Game of Thrones
Yeah.
or like Mr. Robot. Not that I'm hate or Succession. Not that I'm hating on any of these shows. It's just that they're all of these things are just all about like power and whoever has power and how they wield it and how they take it, and just any feelings are just it's like, oh, feelings, that's not what this is about. Oh, feelings, that's for babies. That's not what this is about. And I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to be like postmodern and like, real and whatever, but it's not real. Feelings are they're 50% of it. Like, there's people with power, and the people with power are completely subject to their own feelings, and they do stuff based on their own feelings. And anyway, I know that's a lot of broad kind of random stuff to say, but hopefully a coherent point might have emerged. Yeah, do you know what I mean?
No, I do. I totally understand what you mean. What I always say is that like history in and of itself is really just the study of power and how power has been transitioned through time. So it really like the way that we even look at the world and everything that's happened before us is through this lens of like, where has power been concentrated? So I think that that's like actually a really good answer, because it's always been a relevant answer, right? Is focus on power. And even when you look back at like even like these really ancient texts, like the Iliad and the Odyssey, those are still stories about power. So I think that's a fair complaint. It is certainly, a pretty modern take, but it's also like, it's relevant no matter what time period you're really referring to. What would you see as maybe the solution to that being is like maybe just more narratives that are focused on being like compassion driven? Because like I could think of an example. You mentioned a few shows. Like I feel like one thing that The Office has going for it is that there's a lot of heart in it. So it's like no matter how cringy Michael Scott is, like you at the center of it, you have these people that care about each other, regardless of whatever differences that they have. And I feel like that's kind of the glue that keeps the show together and what makes it so rewatchable for like years after it's been on air.
Totally, totally. Yeah, solution. I don't know, but like just like what you're saying about The Office, like love The Office, of course, whatever, as we all do. And it's just The Office it's like a comedy, it's like a silly comedy, it's like a joke, whatever. And then like Mr. Robot or Succession is supposed to be maybe not, maybe I'm misinterpreting, but to me they seem to be supposedly more serious, maybe more like realistic. But to me, the opposite is true. The Office is a much more like authentic, realistic portrayal of life, because like Michael Scott's like a douchebag, but there's no world where like there's just like well, whatever, of course there is, but normally it's not just going to be like an absolute piece of shit that's going to be absolutely shitty to everybody all the time, because they care what people think about them and they want people to like them, like even though they're a dick. It's just more authentic, and that's all I want. Not like power is not real, of course. It's just it doesn't exist without feelings.
No, I like that. I've always been an advocate of incorporating more compassion into areas that also are very power driven or have some of a power game. I feel like careers in general, it's like a power game. So like it's just one of those areas of life that's really hard to escape. But I understand where you're coming from for sure. And like to your point about Succession, it's a show I really like. But I have a theory that like the reason why it's as successful as it is because it wasn't initially like immediately successful, but it's like people hate rich people right now, like they hate billionaires, and to see like this group of billionaires that are so unhappy despite all of their riches, who are like completely morally detestable. I feel like there's something about that we're really enjoying watching at this moment in time. We're just like we just can't get enough of it. It's almost the same with Euphoria, which is like another HBO show. It's like people that are morally gray, morally ambiguous, that might have A, B, and C going for them. I don't know.
Sure. I feel that. Just to be clear, I watched all 3 seasons of Succession, so I'm full of shit. But yeah. I think there does have to be, as long as there's problems, there does have to be an enemy. I think, and I'm okay with the enemy being rich people. It's dumb because of like just rich people in general. Of course, not just general people, but a specific kind of rich person. Yes, they are the problem. They are the enemy.
Yeah, I do agree with you. That being said, like especially like just like when you look at like if you were to flip open your news app right now and you see all the chaos that's happening, like it's, guarantee whoever's fault it is, it's going to be a rich and powerful person, no matter what. So I definitely understand your take.
And like what you're saying about careers mostly being a power thing anyway, like yeah, totally. And that's why Succession it does make more sense in that way because most people have feelings and care about stuff, but maybe those people kind of just don't really, and maybe that is like a more accurate portrayal. I would even think they're just like they're worse than they're portrayed. I think they're probably even worse, like because
Yeah,
I find Kendall and Shaban and Roy, no, what's his name? I don't know. I find them like pretty sympathetic, and I know in real life I wouldn't. I would be like, get a do something else, like fucking go to India. I'd like whatever, do something. So yeah, I don't know.
I feel like that's just a testament to the writing. Like you have to have some level of empathy for whatever characters, otherwise you're just watching a bunch of serial killers. But yeah, I get what you mean. Careers, they are power games, in my opinion. And I'm curious, like how you've squared that with being an artist, because I feel like the path to being an artist is such an unconventional path. Like there isn't necessarily like a roadmap where in the same way that you would be if you worked at a company where it's like, yeah, if you put in 2 years here, you can these are the roles available to you. How have you come to terms with that? And kind of what's your approach to living an artist's life?
It's really hard, of course, but I think of everything kind of like if I was just a guy in a tribe, what would I do? You know, and if I was just a guy in a tribe, okay, I would be the musical guy. Okay, I'd be doing music stuff, but I would still be expected to help out with the hunting and help out with the gathering and whatnot. I would still be expected to do that sometimes. And so my my overall perspective is all I need to do is do what I love. And like, do I need 24 hours a day every day to do that? No. So that's the thing. It like depends, like right now, I need 40 hours a week to do it. When I was like 22, I maybe needed like 15 hours a week, and in 5 or 10 years, I predict that number might go down. So I just want to be able to do what I like and make the things that I just really feel the need to make. And as long as I do that, then I'm okay. And it might take longer if I have to do other stuff to make money. Try to avoid that as much as possible. But if necessary, I'll still be able to make the thing.
I like that philosophy a lot. I think that's like the best one to have as an artist. I think the trap that a lot of artists fall into is like they get addicted to the metrics of success, where it's like success to me is having 10 million streams on Spotify, or it's dropping an album a year or whatever. Whereas like if you could just be like, I just want to be able to do my thing, the thing that makes me satisfied and makes me happy, and then I'll just take anything else as house money or extra. I think that's like the ideal mindset. So I think it's a really good perspective on what it means to be an artist, especially one who makes a living from being an artist.
All the other stuff is just not in your control. It's just not like And of course, the harder you work and the more you do, the better chances you have for yourself. But at the end of the day, it's really not in your control. So that's why I think you kind of have to have that.
Yeah.
But of course, work harder.
Yeah, I would elaborate on that, but I've probably done that almost every episode of this podcast on the idea of just not worrying about what's out of your control. So I won't dig too much into it here, but very stoic of you to think that way.
No, I do love the Stoics. I do love my Marcus Aurelius for sure.
Well, I can't think of a better segue than that. Today's fortune cookie wisdom is brought to you by none other than Marcus Aurelius. In Meditations, he says, "The best revenge is to be unlike your enemy." Revenge is sweet. We love to get off on getting even. But think about the last time you actually got what you wanted revenge-wise. Oftentimes, exacting revenge means going against our own principles and values, and it risks harming our character. And a lot of the times, when we respond to an injustice with self-righteous retribution, things get worse for us, too. And I want to unpack this a bit because when I first read this quote 10 years ago, I thought that it meant revenge in a more cinematic sense. Someone kills your dog and you kill their entire crime syndicate. John Wick. If you get pig's blood dumped over your head at prom, you kill everyone there. Carrie. Think about Gladiator, Count of Monte Cristo, Lion King. Badass movies, and watching these characters get even is so rewarding. However, in my life, most of the opportunities for revenge come in the form of interactions with strangers. It happens all the time on planes or bars. Someone's rude to you and you respond to rudeness with rudeness of your own. But just yesterday, I was driving and there was a car that at the last second, without a signal, cut across 3 lanes of traffic and ended up blocking 2 of them as they waited to get on to a turn lane. So I honked at her for sure. There's nothing in stoicism that says you can't honk at people. And then she turned to me and started cussing at me and flipping me off and all this stuff. I just waited until I can get around her. But I was driving away. I felt some unproductive thoughts start to simmer. Who is this person? Why are they driving so recklessly? Oh, I should have done A, B, and C thing when she was swearing at me and she would have lost it, right? Like all these really thoughts that would not have been helpful or productive. And then I just realized the best course of action was just to get over it. The thing had already happened. Me being angry about it then wouldn't have helped. Getting upset after it happened is even less useful. So then I was just like, don't be that angry person. Don't be that type of person who's going to let this affect your mood or your day. These are the thoughts that I'm telling myself to have instead of the revenge thoughts, right? Then a minute later, it was like it never happened. So this isn't me trying to brag about my own patience or, being holier than thou at all. I'm just saying the best revenge 98% of the time is just not to be like your enemy or the person who harmed you, to not engage in the behaviors that cause you to feel harmed. And sometimes the best way to get back at people is just to set a better example. All right, back to the conversation. I saw on your website that you're dropping an album this year, potentially. When should we be looking out for that? And I guess maybe if you could just tell listeners what they should check out and where they could find you, that'd be cool too.
All right. Let's say the album is coming fall 2022, this fall. As far as what to expect, it's the best one yet? I don't know. It's just each time I'm just trying to get my vision clear, and it gets clear. In my opinion, it's more and more what I want to do. So that's the basic thing for the album. And then anybody wants to check us out, Dan and Drum on Instagram, Dan and Drum on Spotify, dananddrum.com. Those are the spots. Those are the places.
All right, well, Dan, really appreciate you spending some time talking to me today, and hopefully we can do this again sometime. Looking forward to the new album.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on. I really enjoyed talking. The hour flew by. I really enjoyed all the questions. I thought they were deep, probing questions that I really liked. So thanks, man. Really appreciate it.
Of course, Dan. Well, we're happy to have you back anytime. Friends, as always, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, check out Dan and Drum on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you listen to music. My favorite tracks are Lester, Wanna Ride, and Michael Scott and Holly, so there's your place to start. The next episode will be out in 2 weeks. If you want to stay in the loop, feel free to follow me on Instagram at Here's Johnny Nava or YouTube, wherever you prefer. And if you get a second, please consider leaving a rating or review. Just really helps out the podcast, and I would greatly appreciate it. But until next time, I hope you have a beautiful weekend, whatever day you're listening to this. I hope it's a good one. Also, as I promised at the start of the episode, I said I would play the full theme song, and I'm a man of my word, so here is Don't Panic by Dan and Drum.
Summer came, summer went on by, but you remember the melody. Yeah, get it right and it's a body high. 3 little birdies came by, they asked my advice. I said, don't you just sit there quiet. 3 spreading the word, and I've learned how to listen right. Pay no mind, I'll pay the price. I'll take all your advice, I'll get my head on right. Say no more, I've been there before. I'm never waiting for one last try again. Some ladies calling my name, saying that I'm a better man, but it's never happened.